Good morning. This is going to be a very personal live. As I shared in the description, um, that within the first 93 days of this year, 2024, I experienced three deaths. I not only did I experience them, but I was there, I witnessed, and I supported three beings that I loved dearly, even with one of them, it being a bit contentious. So my name is Felicia Searcy, your Dream Life Activator, and I'd love to hear your gold nuggets. What's resonating with you if you're watching live or the replay, where you're watching from. And if you're appreciating what you're hearing, I have a Facebook group where I support people in living lives that they love. And I have a three-part series, video series to start with that I would love to share with you. Put BAM, that's the name of it, in the comment section, and I'll make sure I get that to you. So as I was sharing that, this is going to be a very personal live. As you know, starting January 2nd, that I experienced, and I was actually there witnessing and supporting three deaths. The first one was my mother, which was a much longer process than the other two. And the other two were my dogs. I had a 14-year-old lab hound mix. And then we just 2.5 weeks ago, oh, MJ, glad you're here. We had a golden doodle, about 4 months, 4 years and 10 months. So not quite 5 years old, that we put down for, a variety of different reasons. And as I went through those, there's several things that came to me that I really wanted to share with you, that I'm grounding them for myself. And one of the best ways for me to ground things is by teaching. And so I wanted to share this with you, and they may sound cliche, they may sound superficial. I'm going to invite you to really take them in deep, because for me, they are life-changing lessons. The first one, and again, this is going to sound so obvious, but it's not. We don't live as if it's obvious. The first one is that life ends. It stops. It comes to an end. Now, like I said, that can sound and feel very obvious, but we live as if this is going to go on forever. I mean, how often do you possibly find yourself saying, oh, I'll get to that, or I'll take care of that one of these days? Someday becomes never, kind of thing. And as I watched these three beings take their last breaths, it just landed for me in a way that it never landed before. Life is temporary. There's an ending, the dash in between. There's a start date, there's an end date. My start date was April 19th, just celebrated my birthday on Friday, 1960, hoping my end date is way out there. But, as I saw from Bo, we have no guarantee. Now, with that understanding that life ends, comes an awareness that we really are called. We're a steward. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a stewardship to living this life in a way that honors it and honors you. It's one of the reasons why, and I'm going to be unabashed about that. Unabashed. I'm going to be unapologetic. That's probably a better word about this during this, because what I realize is that my work of helping you create a life that you love is even more important. That when we really understand that there is an ending to this, that it does stop, there brings a sense of urgency, not phoneticness, not panic, not push, not, oh my God, I got to do something. But there's a sense of urgency around, I really want to utilize and live this gift of life in a way that honors me and honors the gift, that life is a gift, and honors the gift. So that's the first thing that really landed for me. And it's just caused me to have such a richer appreciation of life, and to not let fear stop me. That fear pops up when you're living a bigger, bolder, more expanded life. Fear is going to pop up. In fact, fear is good news. Fear is the good news. And it's learning how, when you understand that there's a limit to this, to acknowledge the fear, but don't let it stop you. And I have lots of trainings on how not to let fear stop you. So that's the first thing that really stood out for me. The second thing is that the fact that life is impermanent, that it ends, is actually a gift. And it's a gift of love. That when we understand that life itself is a gift from an energy of love, and the fact that it ends is a gift in love, we understand that we are surrounded in love. All three deaths, particularly with my mother, and please excuse me if I get a little teary-eyed here and kind of feel myself getting choked up a little bit. That, my mother was hard. It just, she struggled. If you've been around anything that I've done, and if any of my live trainings, I share how my mother struggled with mental illness. She struggled with addiction. She wanted to be a good mom. And there were glimpses of that throughout the years of, her showing up in the way that she could, grab hold of that part of her and she could show up. And for the most part, my mother lived an isolated, scary, violent, she was very violent life. And the last 5 years of her life, there was a breach between the two of us. And she made the decision not to have any contact with me. And so when she was in her transition, she, let her POA know to let me know that she was dying. And I just made the decision to go. That even in the midst of that anger and that alienation, and she was able to say some things to bring peace to her at the very end. And I was the only one with her when she died, that there was nobody else there. It was just her and I, which was such a gift. And I'm so grateful for the spiritual work that I do and I've done to be able to be present with my mother in that way, because it would have been really easy just to stay angry and bitter and unforgiving and, let the bee die on her own kind of thing. But what the gift was, even in the midst of this very human experience, there was such a presence of love. That love was in the room. And my mother kept calling out to somebody, that there was somebody there to accompany her to the other side. And in that, and she kept saying, not yet, not yet. And she was waiting for my nephew to get there. And when my nephew got there and a friend of hers, then she went into her coma, and then she passed the next morning. But in the midst of that, there was such an experience of love. There was such an energy of love. And it landed for me in a way that it never landed before, that I had a level of understanding of how we truly are created in love. But in that experience, and I was there, I was the only one there when my dad made his transition, that I supported my dad out as well. And I felt it with my dad. But I was at peace with my dad. I think the fact that there was still this contention with my mother, on her end, I had really come to a place of forgiveness and acceptance, but, that there was some discomfort on her end, that it made it even more palatable, that the energy of love was even realer, even more palatable. And I realized that it doesn't just happen at the moment of death, that it's available to us anytime, as we call on it, as we recognize it and call on it. And to have those moments of feeling just how profoundly loved you are. and to bring yourself back to remember those moments, because it's in those moments of knowing how loved you are that you're able to harness the courage to take action and to move forward. So, first, it ends. Second, the fact that it ends is a gift, and it's a gift of love, and that we are immersed in an energy field. We are created in love. We move in love. We are surrounded in love. There's no part of us that can ever be separated from love, even when we have human beings in our lives, as I did, that show up in very unskilled ways. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3, I saw and I learned and I realized even more. And again, this is not new information, but I learned we are created to thrive. My mother struggled. She struggled. Life was a struggle for her. She had moments of thriving, but her life overall was a life that she created for herself to stay protected, to stay withdrawn, to keep things very small, And I look at that and I realize that it's an example of that. My mother did not fulfill her potential, that she did not thrive. Now, not right, wrong, good or bad. It's just simply an observation. Realizing that is not how we are supposed to live. One of the reasons we put Bo down, Bo struggled with epilepsy, and his seizures kept getting closer and closer together, and we kept adding more and more and more and more medication, to finally there was a medication combination that prompted a severe case of pancreatitis. I mean, my poor pup was in so much pain, just a severe case of pancreatitis. We took him to the emergency vet, and they were doing all the things to try to turn it around. And I was with him for most of very early into the morning, Friday morning. Went home, slept for a couple of hours. It took him home, took him right back, stayed with him. Left him there late Friday night, actually very early Saturday morning, came home, slept for a couple of hours. Got a call from the emergency vet Saturday morning saying that he had actually taken a turn for the worse, and they wanted to, put a feeding tube in him and give him plasma, and he's still having seizures. They're still having to medicate him highly for seizures. That's not thriving. That was not a thriving life. And all I kept seeing for him was more and more medication, seizures closer together, more and more complications. And so we made the decision to let him go. It was a remarkably painful decision. I was angry that he had epilepsy, angry that he got ill from the medication, and have come to a place of acceptance and letting it go and realizing that's not thriving. That's not thriving. And with the dog, we can make that decision. In some places we can make the decision for ourselves when we really hit that place where we are complete. I don't want to get into that conversation, but what landed for me and why my work is even so much more important is that we are meant to thrive. We're designed to thrive. You have been given these amazing gifts, these capacities to create a life that's thriving, a thriving life. And when you create a thriving life, you are giving glory to this power that created you, that you are honoring this gift of life. And so realizing that we are meant to thrive and you have the capacity to thrive. So those 3 things: life ends. It's a gift that life ends from this energy of love, and that we are surrounded. We swim in an ocean of love. There's no place that we can be separated from love. And love expresses through us in the form of our thriving, which is the form of our dream. I don't know if there's anything new in that necessarily. It's just it has become so much more meaningful that there's a profound I'd love to hear your takeaways from that in the comment section, whether you're watching this live or the replay. Please share what stood out for you. And if you're not a member of our Facebook group, this is my work in the world, is to help you understand. We got a limited amount of time here. You are swimming in a sea of love that wants you to live this life fully, and that you are meant to thrive, and that there is a system by which to thrive. If you want help with that, I've created a 3-part series called BAM. It's a formula, a 3-part video series called BAM that lays out the formula so you can live this life now to the fullest. Put BAM in the comment section. I'll give you entry into our Facebook group where you'll have access to that. So just know how much I deeply love and appreciate you. I'm so grateful that you are on the planet at this time and age. Our world needs you living fullest potential. And it would be my honor to support you in living that potential, living this full life, this gift of life now. All right. So my name is Felicia Searcy. It is my joy to be your partner in believing. I just so love and appreciate you. You are amazing. Mwah. God bless.